Hi, this is Candace with MF Magazine, and I'm here with the very lovely Brooke White.
Hi.
And how are how are you doing today?
Oh, I think today I'm on cloud nine because I actually slept for the first time in 3 days. My voice has returned, which makes me, very happy.
Has the touring been really stressful on you then, as far as being able to sleep?
My issue really is sleeping on the bus. I just can't do it. I just can't. I don't know if it's just you're so wound up every night after the show, and then you get on the bus, and there's a lot of things going on in the bus, and everyone's sharing a space, and you get in these little dark, we call them coffin beds because they're tiny and they're small, and I just can't fall asleep.
So how's the tour going for you so far? As doing your own show per the American Idol tour, how does that affect you as an artist and the differences between?
I find this entirely different from the Idol tour. I mean, for one, on Idol, there was 10 of us, and we were, it was a huge tour. It was an arena tour where we were playing anywhere from 10 to 18,000 people a night. So this is much more intimate, smaller. I actually feel like this is better for me. I really, and also the fact that on the Idol tour we were singing, 3 covers a night, and here I'm singing a full set that's, with the exception of 1 or 2 covers, is all my own.
And do you really feel that you get to showcase your talents and gifts as an artist?
Absolutely. I mean, Idol was a great experience and a real chance to connect with so many people and build that fan base, but at this point, to be using not just the singing and playing aspect, but the songwriting and the creating of an album portion, But what's really great about this tour is being able to look down and see fans singing along to your songs. That's, I think, those moments are kind of like the defining ones as an artist, for sure.
You decided not to go with the major labels and actually drop your own label, right. June Baby Records.
Yes.
And what was your inspiration behind starting that as per going with a major label?
I can't say that it was entirely conscious. Initially, I had planned on doing a major label. That's what I felt like was what I needed to, that's, as soon as I got off the show, that's what I thought would happen. And as we were meeting with labels, it just felt like, it's hard to explain, but it felt like the record process, the actual making of the record process, felt really far away from me. And I'd already started writing, and I'd found a producer that I wanted to work with. And so I just decided to really focus on the music first. And when I started making the record, I felt like, well, I obviously have to find a way to put this record out. And went to my management and said, they had come with the idea of forming my own label for me, for this record, so that I could have the artistic control to do what I wanted. And so we, having the platform of Idol really gave me the opportunity to do that. And so now here we are. There's trade-offs, There's definitely some difficult parts of being indie, but the idea of getting to make your own piece of art is pretty nice trade-off, I suppose.
And your album, High Hopes and Heartbreaks, what was the inspiration behind the name?
That's a good question. I'd been eliminated from Idol, obviously, and I'd gone home and I was reading through some old blogs that I'd written previous to Idol a couple years before, and I'd come across this one that I'd written about my experience of getting into music, and one of the lines in it said, it was a bumpy beginning, quotes, it was a bumpy beginning fraught with high hopes and heartbreak, the kind of experiences I've turned into songs. And when I read that, I was like, oh, that is the name of this record. It just jumped out at me because to me, it was very, just in a nutshell, describes what this experience and just life experience is. And, it's ups and downs. And you really need both. To experience happiness, you need to know what sadness is. And so I felt like it was a good title. Some people are like, oh, that sounds so sad. And it's like, no, it's not. It's just life, and it's real, and it's okay. It wasn't meant to be a downer.
What are your goals and expectations for this album and for yourself in general and where you want to go?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, for one, I think part of my expectation has already been made in the sense that the record is there, and it's a very organic piece of work. It's a very slightly throwback, vibe, kind of like the records that I really loved. It has some of that quality to it. But I try really hard to not have very defined expectations. If there's one thing that I've learned in the last 10 years, people say, what does your next 10 years look like? And I think, well, if I looked on my last 10 years, nothing has gone according to plan. Nothing went the way I thought it would. So, I think day to day, I really try to work hard. And I try to be as proactive as possible. Being on tour, for one, is a huge deal. Mm-hmm. Getting to be out here and doing that, coming this far. But, I'd like to make more music, obviously. I'd like to make another record and continue that on. But, it's just reaching as many people as possible. Going back out to those people that saw me on Idol and saying, hey, I'm still here, mm-hmm. and I have a record, and I have something to say musically, and listen, please.
And who have been your biggest influences for music and doing
Mm-hmm.
this?
Well, it's probably not, it's not much of a secret these days, but I grew up on music of the 60s and 70s, and that was really what inspired me, I think, as an artist. Carole King was one artist that motivated me as a singer. I never thought I had a good voice. I never connected with my own voice until it was other people that pushed me mm-hmm. before I came along, started getting it, I guess. But hearing Carole King's voice, I think, really helped me realize that you didn't have to have this high soprano voice with a lot of range or vibrato, to have some a little bit more, I don't know, I always had a raspy tone, and I think I related to her.
And how did you get into music? Like, what was your first turning point of really being a singer?
Well, like I said, it wasn't like, so many people on Idol you hear, they're like, oh, I knew I wanted to sing since I was 3 years old. That wasn't me at all. I started playing piano by ear as a kid, but didn't start singing until I was about 16. And it was merely my cousin dragged me along to a high school musical audition, not the high school musical, but my high school's musical. And I tried out. I was really afraid, very shy at that point. And I ended up with the lead role. That kind of changed everything, I guess.
Yeah. And how do you think that experience shaped you into where you're at now?
I think it forced me to realize that maybe I had a musical gift, which I wasn't necessarily comfortable with. And I still have times where I'm like, wait, am I really doing this? People ask me what do I do for a living, and I say I'm a singer-songwriter. Sometimes I hear myself say it, and I'm like, really? That's weird. But yeah, I just think it helped me discover a talent that I maybe wasn't ready to realize for a long time. But then, getting into songwriting didn't happen until till I was about 20 years old. So yeah, the piano playing and the singing didn't come together until like 6 years ago. So.
And what do you think has been your biggest challenge?
Myself. I'm my biggest challenge, I think at the end of the day, it's, for me personally, I could say, overcoming some of my fears or my insecurities or my feelings of, sometimes it's just it's a very tough industry. I'm a sensitive girl. I have a soft heart. I feel everything, and in certain aspects, that's a great thing as a songwriter, as a musician. For the business part, it's, sometimes I feel like, I'm, just not cut out for all this. But I think that's my biggest challenge, is just overcoming my own, myself.
And at the end of the day, what's your biggest motivation for waking up tomorrow morning and doing it again?
I really think it all comes back to the music. I think at the end of the day, money or, fame, those things just don't stick around. They're not really lasting. I can really say at the end of the day, I don't think that's really what's keeping me motivated, although I love the fans. And actually, they do motivate me, the sincere people that connect and listen. That's amazing. But I'll be sitting around and playing the guitar, the piano, and I'll hit a chord that, like, I don't know, something about it just does something to me, and I feel it, and it has this intense effect on me. And I think that's what keeps me going. And I think at the end, there's just sometimes you come to grips with the sense that you, in your heart and in your mind, you just know that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with us. It was really enjoyable.